There were altercations in the cafeteria when I was in high school, but I wouldn't call any of them fights. Somebody took a fry and they had to be corrected. You know, there's like little things like that.
Well, I went to Chapel Hill. Ours were No, ours were knife cuts, trays across the head.
Oh, wow. That was in regular school?
Yes. If you weren't ready to defend yourself, you were getting eaten.
What high school?
Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
They know that. Very good watching.
Oh, and thanks for the, cutting down that tree out here. I mean, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but it did perfect.
Oh, the one out here?
Oh, it was a dead soldier,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it was horrible.
It was supporting life other than trees. There were things growing up.
But I mean, it makes it look really nice, you know.
Male hummingbirds are very territorial.
You know, you started off really high pitched with that and then went down.
We have this one that defends the
Especially
feeder
around
in our
food.
Yes. So Tony has a feeder where we can see that with our sunroom, and so for a month and a half now, this thing fights daily. The other
He'll
one,
sit up and watch.
he
The other
sits up
ones,
and watches it. And the leg he's on, it's on the contrary, so every 2 days it gets lower and lower and more heavy.
so much.
It's so funny. I'm like, what is happening in my yard? But I had my rabbit out there the other day, and it hovered over my rabbit like it was gonna, I don't know.
Like a bird of prey?
Yes. And I was like, the rabbit's alive, let's leave him alone.
It's like, what's that noise?
Yeah, and I went inside and Tony said, I saw you, don't have to tell me.
30 seconds. Let's get ready to govern. Which side?
Be ready.
I had it upside down yesterday.
I know.
Yeah. The tension.
Cell phones off.
We'll now call to order this meeting of the City of White House Council for today, September the 12th, 2023. The time is 6 p.m. Ms. Hargis, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. James Wansley.
Here.
Zach Briscoe.
Here.
Georgia Harris.
Here.
John Chambers.
Here.
Michael Lowe.
Here.
And Heath Rosenstein. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Will you please stand if you're able and join me in a word of prayer? Dear Heavenly Father, we gather here today as members of a community that we hold dear. We ask for your wisdom as we reflect on the history of our city, for patience and insight as we consider the matters at hand, and for courage and stewardship as we plan for the city of White House. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag.
Honoring the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. In council chambers and classrooms is the only time you'll hear the Texas flags that clearly. Thank you for that. All right, that takes us down to item D, presentations. Mrs. Black,
Anytime, Mayor.
we don't have any presentations. All right. Do we have any matters of community interest to discuss? That's item E.
Just a reminder that our park survey remains open. We are up to about 220 responses. Last week and over the course of this week, we are mailing a postcard to all of our utility billing customers that looks like what's shown on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. So you should be receiving that in the mail hopefully this week or next. And then we will hold a public meeting on October 16th here in the council chambers, just to get an update from our consultant and further refine what our community would like to see for priorities as a part of that plan. And then also the speed cushions on East Ackertap have been installed and signs have been ordered if they're not up already. And so great feedback from the neighbors on that street, on that effort.
Yeah, it's made a great difference. Appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
council, I'm looking at I've talked to the fire chief before in regards to the Darley old fire siren that used to stand honorably in White House.
Yeah.
And, of course, I will coordinate everything through the chief, and, looking at maybe getting it refurbished. To put possibly one day in the new fire station, or either the new city hall, or wherever it would be deemed good for the city. The guy I'm working with is a master electrician, so we're just looking at all kind of things, and I'll make sure I coordinate with the chief and make sure it's in good hands, but getting it all refurbished, painted, I think it'd be neat to have as a keepsake for the city.
Absolutely. Thanks for your work on that. Anything else on the matter of community interest? All right. That moves us down to item F, public forum. Ms. Hargis, we have anybody sign up? I didn't see anybody.
No, sir, no one signed it.
All right. Nobody signed up for public forum. We'll move on to the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda for your consideration. One of them is to approve the minutes of the city council meeting on August 15th, 2023. The other one is the quarterly interest report.
Investment,
What did I say?
interest.
Investment report. So if there's no interest in moving one of these items onto the regular agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. That the consent agenda is approved. That takes us down to item H, other action items, ordinances, resolutions, and public hearings. Item number 1 is November 7th, 2023 city election. Part A is the presentation and acceptance of the certification of unopposed candidates for the November 7th, 2023 general election. B is acceptance of the order of cancellation, canceling November 7th, 2023 general election. And C is approval of ordinance 23-0912-01, canceling the November 7th, 2023 city general election. Ms. Hargis.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. The period to file for a place on the ballot has expired, and by the end of the filing period, we only have 3 candidates, one for each seat. Place 1 is Zach Briscoe, place 3, John Chambers, and place 5 is Matt Lazarine. Since all candidates are unopposed, the November 7th general election can be canceled. Per the Texas Election Code Section 2.052, I present the certification of unopposed candidates to you tonight. Also before you tonight is, as the mayor said, the order of cancellation and the ordinance 23091201, which are both necessary to cancel this general election. Even though we're able to cancel the general election, Texas Election Code Section 2.053 requires that unopposed candidates still be placed on the ballot with a designation of unopposed candidates declared elected. It's little air quotes there.
Oh, okay.
So voters will find that information on their ballots in November.
That's neat.
Yeah, that is new, huh?
It is new. Staff recommends acceptance of the certification of unopposed candidates and the approval of both the order of cancellation and ordinance 23091201, so we can cancel the general election.
All right, council, any discussion on this?
Do we need individual motions for 1 and 2, or can we motion to approve as presented?
I think the recommended motion would be to accept the certification of unopposed candidates. I think it can be read in such a way that you can do all 3.
I do have one small question. I don't recall where it went, but the funding for the EDC, what ballot?
It's on a special election.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the certification of unopposed candidates, the order of cancellation, and the approval of ordinance 23-0912-01, canceling the November 7th, 2023 city general election.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that takes us down to item 2, discussion, consideration, and action on ordinance 23-0912-02, amending ordinance 23-0815-05, calling and ordering a special election for sales tax reallocation. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, if you all remember at your last meeting on August 15th, you approved ordinance 23-0815-05, which called for and ordered the special election for sales tax reallocation. In working with Smith County and the city attorney on the ballot language for that election, we felt like a change was needed to further clarify what this election actually entails. You have the original language which stated the increase of the local sales and use tax in the city of White House dedicated for the benefit of a Section 4B Economic Development Corporation from 1/8 of 1% to 1/4 of 1%, and repealing the sales and use tax designated to reduce property tax and allocating 1/4 of 1% to general revenue. We felt like that language was a little bit misleading, starting with the increase, and felt like noting that this is a reallocation of our existing sales and use tax would provide more clarity to the voters. Our city attorney agreed, and Smith County elections official also agreed. So the proposed language is to change it to a sales tax reallocation in the city of White House, increasing the local sales and use tax dedicated for the benefit of a Section 4B Economic Development Corporation from 1/8 of 1% to 1/4 of 1%, and repealing the sales and use tax designated to reduce property tax and allocating 1/4 of 1% to general revenue. Staff is recommending this change. Amending the ordinance will make sure that the ordinance calling and ordering the special election matches what we have approved to be put on the ballot with Smith County elections.
Were you just thinking clear as mud?
Yeah,
I love it.
So I would
That's a good
love to be
catch.
able to make
I
more
know.
tweaks and
Yeah.
make this even clearer to our voters. However, state regulations require some pretty specific language. This is about the most tweaking we can do to provide that clarity, in staff's opinion.
I have no problem with the new statement. I can make it make sense in my head just fine. I'm
Me too.
average intelligence.
The last statement, I think, was probably the most clear for me.
is it gonna come with additional language that says this is a tax increase?
No, what you see here is
Will
what
be
will
on the
be
ballot.
on the ballot.
Okay,
This
let's,
is it, this is it, yeah.
this is still weird, but it's not as bad as it could be, I suppose. It looks like an improvement to me.
That was the goal.
Well, the first four words are critical, a sales tax reallocation. But I agree with you, Mayor, too, it's, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we get it right, because this is
That's
one of,
it,
this may be, I mean, state legislation is constantly moving away from taking sales tax away from cities and trying to put it at somewhere at the state level. So I think this might be our last opportunity to get it right, so thanks for taking the time to make that change.
Yeah, appreciate you.
All right, any further discussion on this item?
I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 23-0912-02 as presented.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, for item number 3, this is something that I've filed a conflict with, and Councilwoman Harris has as well, so we will be leaving the room, and I'll hand it over to Mayor Pro Tem. Let's give it up for Zach Briscoe.
Hey! Yes.
All right, thank you.
No pressure.
Yeah.
So, item 3, discussion and consideration and action on authorizing the city manager to execute contract for development of informational materials related to the sales tax reallocation election.
Mayor and council, as you all know, with this sales tax reallocation election, the city is limited to only putting out factual information as it relates to this election. But as we've just seen, that ballot language is complex and confusing. Our ballot language will also be next to the school district's election, and they're doing I can't remember what the acronym stands for, they're doing a property tax swap election as well. Theirs very clearly states that theirs is a property tax decrease. So I feel even more strongly that we need to be very deliberate in our messaging to our voters, and I feel like the messaging that we need to put out is probably more complex and needs a little bit more professional guidance than what staff can do internally. So staff did reach out to 2 different vendors to get quotes on strategic messaging for this election. So those 2 firms are CWJ Strategies, which is located in Tyler, and Mays Media Group, which is located in the Dallas area. I've used Mays Media Group prior in a different city. And those quotes were vastly different for the same scope of services. CWJ Strategies came in at about $9,200. Mays Media Group came in between, I believe, 28 to 30 some odd $1,000. The only difference, CWJ Strategies does not include actual printing costs. Mays Media Group has provided an estimate included in their quote for printing services. Staff feels strongly that both firms are qualified and capable, but would recommend going with CWJ Strategies. I will note that Mayor Wansley and Councilwoman Harris do have relatives that work for this firm, and that is why they have filed their conflict of interest, but they were not involved in getting the quotes or designing the scope of services for this. So with that, staff, again, is recommending CWJ Strategies for the development of these materials.
Make a motion.
Any discussion? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we execute a contract for the development of informational materials related to the sales tax reallocation election.
I'll second.
I was gonna say,
Can
by
I
default,
second?
I think.
Can I say one thing?
To authorize the
Authorize
city
the city
manager
manager.
to execute the contract.
Oh, I
You
thought,
amend your
you may do it
motion.
all over again?
You can just say amended,
Amended,
okay.
Oh,
Do you agree with the amendment to the motion?
The amendment to authorize the city manager.
to amend to the city manager.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
So, I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Let me go get them.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Air conditioners work.
So it's actually not.
If you're on,
Or maybe the door opening, I don't know.
Well,
Got a chill.
We had some AC
if you're on
issues
that,
today.
if you're on this end, there's no air.
Sit back in the hot seat. Sorry, our rear air conditioner.
Sorry to touch it that.
All right, feels like rain out there.
Hallelujah.
All right, we are on to item H4. Discussion, consideration, and action on sport court striping and equipment for the multi-sport court located behind 109 East Main and the Education Support Center. Mrs. Black.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, as you all know, we have executed a lease with White House ISD that includes this, what has been used as a basketball court behind 109 East Main and the Education Support Center. Public Works Director Jason Wright reached out to a company about getting striping done for both pickleball and basketball. We can do both of those. The striping, I believe, let's see, was about $33.50, and an additional net for pickleball use would be about $2,200. So the total cost to get this court available to use for both basketball and pickleball would be about $5,550. It is not a budgeted expenditure at this time, but could be taken from American Rescue Plan funds, and that would be staff's recommendation. Normally, I wouldn't bring a cost this small to you. However, this is adding a new use on property that we leased from the school district, and I anticipate could result in future improvements as well, such as lighting and other things with this court. So it's kind of, if you give the mouse a cookie, is what I'm anticipating. So I wanted to bring it to you because, again, it is a new use on property that we lease from the school district. We reached out to the school district. They fully support this work on this court, and so staff recommends approval.
How easy is it to take the pickleball net up and down for basketball?
So it's on casters. You would just roll it to the side of the court.
Okay.
And roll it back when you're ready to play. They're pretty heavy duty.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
So
my
as long,
concern, too.
short of vandalism,
Mhm.
they should last quite some time.
Okay.
We always run the risk of vandalism, but
Are we insured for vandalism on that equipment?
we could add it. I don't know if they'll add anything that small, but
I was
we'll
just gonna
ask.
say it's kind of small, it
Yeah.
might not even be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, our deductible is what, $1,000 or so.
Yeah.
Here's another question. Do we have lighting back there at all? It'd
I
be
don't
nice to
believe
have
so.
a light.
I agree at some point. It's
Yeah.
gonna require, it'll be easier once 109 East Main is in the works
True.
because
I was gonna
you have
ask
to
if
have
that
a
can be
computer
like
set.
thrown in.
Yeah, we can talk to Encore about that.
That would make sense.
And you know what? We may have possible future expansion opportunities you know, maybe, I think it may be a hit, really a good thing. And maybe we could even expand it to another court,
Perhaps.
maybe, you know.
Yeah, I think if we demonstrate that we're good stewards
Right.
with the property that we're leasing from the school district and we don't create any problems for them by introducing something like this, then I think it's a great opportunity to show that we can do things like this successfully.
Pickleball is the rage.
It is, it's very.
Nobody plays tennis anymore.
No.
Like, all the different outside parks, I'm just, try to get a tennis game going.
Wow.
I love having things like this to take my boys to, so
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
I
a
will
huge fan
dominate
of
you.
this kind of stuff.
I like it.
Pickleball is a sport my 11-year-old and I can play together, and he only heckles me moderately, not severely. Like when
It
we
is
try
a
to play
good
other
heckling
sports.
sport.
I know, but I can't.
You can
can't
give it
throw a
back.
baseball with
You
him
know.
anymore. He's too big. So.
No, but you can give it back to him though.
Yeah.
I'd like to have one with the council, taking y'all
Pickleball
on.
match.
I'm not.
I think it's a
I
good
think
thing, though.
I love
I
it.
think
do.
it would be super popular.
I do too.
Yeah, it's easy to play at all skill levels.
And, you know, we can spread the word and, but I would like lighting. I would like lighting.
I know, then it's gonna get busy.
Maybe a
You're
camera,
gonna have to
maybe.
wait for, like at
Yeah, I
Burgerville,
think
you're gonna
as a
be
part of
waiting,
the
yes.
109,
I got winter.
kind of while we're in there, I think it'd be
Yeah.
good. So we do it from dawn to dusk for now.
Mm-hmm.
When 109 comes up, we add some lights. And yeah, think about expanding.
Because the fence probably will be taken down in the future, right? Yeah, okay. Good deal.
Maybe.
Be some soccer balls coming through.
That's right.
I'll make a motion to authorize the sport court striping and equipment for the multi-sport court located behind 109 East Main and the Education Support Center.
Are you doing that with the net as well?
Yes, it says and equipment,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. That motion carries. On to item H5, discussion, consideration, and action on resolution R23-0912-01, designating a portion of Highway 110 as Veterans Memorial Highway. Mrs. Black, is this one?
Ms.
It's Susan.
Hargis.
All right, Ms. Hargis, please.
Sir. Mayor and Council, as requested by City Council a few meetings ago, staff began working with TxDOT to determine how we could designate Highway 110 North inside the city limits as Veterans Memorial Highway. There are provisions to do this through local action that requires the roadway not be previously designated, that a resolution be passed by council to work with TxDOT on the sign design and locations, and the preparation of a memo for signature by the TxDOT Executive Director. The city would also be responsible for the fabrication and installation of the signs, which I got late this afternoon is approximately $715 per sign, as well as the ongoing maintenance of them in perpetuity. We have discovered that Highway 110 inside the city limits has not been previously designated. And before you tonight is the resolution that we would need to get started on this. So this resolution is for your consideration tonight. Staff does recommend approval of that. If the resolution is passed, then staff will continue to work with TxDOT to get this project completed.
So is this looking at the full length of 110 inside the city limits?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless you would like something different.
I think that's fine.
You should make the motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just want to say this, that, you know, we have a lot of attributes in this city, and one of them is we are a city that loves our veterans and is appreciative. A lot of them gave the ultimate price, and I want to thank the staff, I want to thank the mayor, the council, rest of them. I think this is good. This is good for White House, and so thank you. Now, with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion if y'all want. I'll make a motion that we discuss, we've done that, consider and take action on resolution R23-0912-01, designated a portion of Highway 110 as Veterans Memorial Highway.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I do like that the Veterans Memorial is halfway, you know, the length of the highways. That's great.
True.
All right. Hearing nothing else, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries. Thank you for that. Thanks for staff for finding a way
Yes.
forward on that. All right, that takes us down to item H6, consider future agenda items. Here we go.
Mayor and Council, TxDOT has reached out to us, letting us know that they're asking all of their local jurisdictions to approve a new municipal maintenance agreement with them, so that will be on your next agenda. We also need to look at purchasing additional tasers for our police department. As you all know, we've added a couple of police officer positions in the last couple of years, and it's some additional school resource officers, so we need to look at additional tasers. That was not included in our budget discussions, so we'll need to put that on our next agenda. And then we will also be asking for you all to authorize the release of a request for proposals for the development of a grant for comprehensive planning services on the next agenda.
I'll make you this deal, council. If you buy the tasers, I'll let the police tase me.
Wow.
I'll take the first tase.
Wow.
I'll do it when it comes
I'll
up.
approve it without the.
Can we do it right before you enter on a tennis match?
I think that's pretty, I think that's pretty honorable.
You gotta know what it's like.
No, I don't.
I'll be fine.
Cause it does actually pierce the skin.
Oh, that's the least of it, though.
My
Changes
approval will
changes
come
your
with an
life.
asterisk.
Yeah, we can set up an event. It'll be a mitzvah. All right. Anything else to consider for future agenda items? All right. That being all, let's go to item I, administrative reports. Update from the city manager on changes to the memorandum of understanding with White House ISD for school resource officers. This is Black.
Mayor and Council, we discussed this briefly in our budget process, but I wanted to have an actual agenda item on this. Dr. Moran, Chief Provost, and I have met and been reviewing our current memorandum of understanding that provides school resource officers to the ISD. We have executed these changes. The school district was under a very tight September 1st deadline with TEA that would require significant changes to our MOU had it been done after September 1st. So we made some minor changes to our existing MOU, which included removing the number of officers provided in that agreement. As you all know, we've gone from 3 school resource officers to 5 this year, which is great news for everyone. It allows us to better work together based on staffing levels, recruitment, and it to be a little bit more flexible for both the school district and the city. In the prior agreement, the cost share was 75% of salary and benefits, while our officers were serving as school resource officers. The school district agreed to go to 100% while they're working as school resource officers, because it does not include things like equipment, training,
Vehicle.
fleet. It ends up being about a 50-50 cost share per position. So each officer is about $120,000 to $125,000 by the time you add in everything that's required for those positions. And the school district contributes about half of that. And it would allow an additional stipend for one of our police captains to supervise the SRO program. And so staff has made those changes. School district was of course agreeable to those changes. And so that is what has been in place since September 1st of this year and will continue until August 31st.
Excellent. Any questions or discussion from council? All right, that's just an update. That one's not actionable. Okay. So moving on to item I2, update from the city manager on the status of the key projects identified in the strategic plan of the 2022-23 fiscal year budget. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and Council, this item has been pending for a little bit, getting through our budget process. So I have some updates for you on mainly items related to our strategic plan and initiatives that we've undertaken in the last year. So let's start with big goal step number 1. As you all know, is related to the city management plan, performance and communications. So we continue to do work in all of these areas, particularly for performance management. I think taking a very concentrated effort to celebrate the successes of our team. We're going to do a new fiscal year lunch with them to talk about all of the great things that you all approved in our upcoming budget. Celebrating, of course, our police department being accredited. Also noting that we do have a staffing plan and succession plan in place for how we are gonna move forward, continuing that strong foundation for performance. Under recruitment and retention, thank you, Mayor and Council, for all the work you've done on this area. Happy to say that our police department, we had a new officer start today because of what all you have done on recruitment and retention, so that is exciting. External communication, as you all know, we've done a lot of work over the last 3.5, 4 years to up our external communication and internal communication. Stephanie's position as the interagency coordinator has been key in those efforts. She's created things like an internal newsletter, of course we do an external newsletter, and several different things related to Big Bold Step number 1. So any questions on our efforts? Okay. Big Bold Step number 2 is related to onboarding, engagement, and reporting. So as you all know, we do an onboarding process for new city council members. We hope to expand that to the youth community council this next year and kind of do a little bit more of a government orientation for them. Under engagement, as you all know, we've increased our town hall style meetings, particularly for broadband and parks, and we may hold additional ones related to the sales tax reallocation election this fall. We've created several steering committees to develop and work on our projects, including the Parks Plan, the Economic Development Subcommittees, our CIP plan that we did last summer. And then some other engagement activities that we're doing include the new fire prevention program. I believe they're gonna hold their fire prevention day on a Saturday and open it up to the community this year in October. National Night Out is coming up. I need to add that to my community interest slide. So that will be the first Tuesday in October in City Park as well. And then reporting, just creating some things like our budgeted brief that we sent out that talks about what all is in the upcoming budget, and then annual reports that we're gonna be we put out 1 year before and we'll be putting out again this next year. Any questions on those items? Big Old Step number 3 talks about obtaining the land as required to accomplish the vision. As you all know, we've purchased 105 East Main, 109 East Main, and 401 East Main with the addition of the ISD lease, and then looking at a potential future park acquisition, parkland acquisition. That's still in the works. We're still working with our consulting team and the property owner on that project. Facilities planning, our community center, we are still awaiting the third-party cost estimator cost reconciliation on that. The construction company that we have agreed to work with is estimating right now that construction costs will be at about $6.7 million. So anticipate we'll be bringing those to you for further cuts and changes to get that cost down a little bit. That does not include furniture in the build-out costs, so.
Bring your own chair situation.
Bring your own chair right now.
That's down from the original estimate.
Yes,
So that's
yeah,
good.
we
It's
did
going the right
some
direction.
things like we removed the partition walls, the movable partitions. Those are pretty costly, so taking those out. And there are some other things. It doesn't include some alternative bids, like a electronic message board sign. So it's in as an alternative bid, but that 6.7 doesn't include that. So there are some things that we just need to look at, and we'll be bringing that back before you once we get the third-party cost estimators reconciliation of those costs.
So bead curtains, is that what we're looking at for the?
Yeah,
Okay.
bead curtains, yeah. I didn't see that as a line item, but we can pencil that in. And then, of course, after that, City Hall and looking at what we need to do for a new fire station in the future. We couldn't do all of these projects, of course, without our relationship with our partners. The school district, of course, is critical in the lease, and talking about things like adding pickleball and soccer over there and some of the things that we're doing. And then property owners, of course, that want to be a part of it. You know, these properties that we've purchased have been through great relationships with those property owners, and I think we'll see that continue with this potential parkland purchase that we're discussing. Finding ways that we can make it more palatable for everyone without expending more dollars, hopefully. So, and then of course for economic development on this one with the sales tax reallocation election, some things that we're doing internally with staff development and getting them ready to be the economic development executive director, making sure that we're in a great position when that opportunity arises. And then committee development with those subcommittees and the work that they're doing to really enhance our relationships with business owners and each other are really key for our economic development. Big bold step number 3. Big bold step number 4 has to do with obtaining adequate funding to fulfill the vision. So as you all know, we're doing the parks plan right now. I expect that that's going to finish up about 4 months earlier than originally anticipated. I expect that we will have a final draft to you in January and prepare for adoption in February. That'll put us in a really great position for Texas Parks and Wildlife Development grants, hopefully next year. So that's great news from our consulting team. Again, we are researching some grant opportunities for comprehensive plan, as I mentioned, will be on the next agenda. I'm looking at grant consulting firms for that. As you all know, we had submitted a grant through the East Texas Council of Governments for a Department of Justice grant for a motorcycle for the police department. We have been told that that project will not be funded this year. So we will continue to apply. We apply for those grants every year, and so we'll continue to put in for that and look at other opportunities. And then, as you all know, we had submitted a preliminary application to TxDOT for a sidewalk grant on East Ackertap that included pedestrian signalization. At 110, we were not able to get all the information that we needed to submit for that detailed application deadline. But I did talk to our TxDOT area engineer late last week. He's going to continue to push, particularly for the pedestrian signalization at Ackertap and 110 on his end, and see if we can move it forward. And then he did give me a contact of an independent engineer that is particularly interested in those sidewalks along East Ackertap that may be able to provide some professional support in developing the information that we need so that we're ready for the next time that cycle becomes available. So we will keep pushing it, even if we have to pay professional services charges, to make sure that we're in a really good position the next time funding becomes available for that type of project. Just as a reminder, it was estimated to be about a $750,000 project. So we want to make sure that we're in a really good position to maybe get some funds from another agency to make sure that project can go through. Again, donors, we've seen the development of the Parks Foundation and this pavilion that they've been able to put together. The ribbon cutting for that will be September 30th. So they've been a great partner in getting funding to fulfill the vision that's outlined in our strategic plan. And again, other agencies such as TxDOT, the work they did with the sidewalks along 110, them helping us with the pedestrian signalization at 110 and Ackertap will be key. So we're making sure that we're fostering those relationships as best we can so that we can all move forward together. Big bold step number 5 has to do with developing the amenities. And so the work that we've done on fiber and parks in particular, the American Rescue Plan Act funds being designated to be spent on park improvements in this upcoming fiscal year. We will start working on that come October to get those projects underway. Capital project planning with our water and wastewater rate study. I expect that those numbers will be before you sometime in November to start looking at. I do think that once we wrap that up, we need to start looking at a water and wastewater master plan development. Right now, when a developer comes in, we're just we're winging it on infrastructure sizes and making sure, we have some opportunity if we have a good water and wastewater master plan to require them to do any upsizing that may be needed to serve that development. But we don't have those plans in place right now, so we really need to get some of those things documented.
Will the rate assessment be kind of the beginning of that, where somebody comes in and takes a look at the rates that we're charging, or is that part of that master plan? Are those two different things?
No, 2 different things.
Okay.
So the rate study is underway now. That's really just taking a look at the capital projects we need to do right now, and some that we know is based on growth. But for example, if you were to build a subdivision here and we had a 6-inch main that's serving the development in place now, fine, but we need to upsize it to an 8-inch. With a water master plan, you can hold the developer responsible for that upsizing, or at least a pro rata share of that upsizing.
Yeah, because it provides empirical, not just guesstimate.
Right.
Yeah, I understand.
And our engineers help with that now, but I think having that identified would help both of our public works department and our development partners as we continue to grow and move forward. And then any future bond issuances, depending on what information comes back through that park survey, what park amenities our community is looking for, and whether or not they're willing to fund that through bond issuances, we know that we're gonna need to do something related to a fire station going forward. And so making sure that that's on our radar and that we are being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars and making sure that the city is moving forward in a fiscally sustainable way. We continue to work with our financial advisors on that and looking at long-term growth and what that means. We know that our residential and commercial growth has slowed this year. It's not anything I'm worried about. We're seeing it slow down everywhere, but it is something that we want to keep in mind as we go forward. And then big bold step 6, which is kind of my favorite. I was talking to some of our department directors today. When the strategic plan was developed in 2018, big bold step number 6 was to create the city's identity and brand to promote the vision. And I think that included a new city logo and some other ideas. But I think we've rebranded the city in a different way. I think now we can say that it's a winning team that people want to be a part of without changing the logo. I think, I think we've seen that. I think there's some talk in the strategic plan about train the trainer and hospitality related things, but I think in lieu of that, we've really seen people become ambassadors of our community and really proud of what's going on here, not just within the city organization, but in the whole community. And so while I think that shifted, I think we've still accomplished big bold step number 6, or at least made a lot of progress toward it. So a few other projects that we have going on. We continue to work on our franchise fee audit with Azavar. I think the time frame on that, Jennifer, is November or December-ish before we have a big update from them. I don't have any new information from Net RMA on the trail acquisition for the railway from Hagan Road South. I don't think there's been any movement on that. We are working with one of our engineers on some drainage issues along Hagan Road. We have released an RFP for a generator at the 110 North Water Treatment Facility. That RFP notice was published last week, so hopefully we'll be getting some bids back on that. And then we also need to consider a future date for a strategic plan update. So that is kind of where we stand on all the big projects that we have going on right now.
Yeah, that's great. What a great year.
You ain't
A lot of
kidding.
fun stuff.
Yep.
And I agree, the rebranding has happened just by building the community and yeah, you hear it everywhere you go.
What year did this strategic plan get done?
2018, and it was added to in 2019.
Okay. I knew it had been a couple of years, but I didn't know it was fine.
Any more comments or questions on the update? Well done. You wouldn't think that we're a city of how many employees? 57 now? 58?
53.
53. Okay, even with the new officers, we're just hitting 53. Yeah, it's amazing how much a city with this staff, that includes fire and police and everybody, how much you're able to do with what you have. We really appreciate your extra efforts there.
It's a great attribute, it really is.
You can only do it when you have a team that's working really well together and efficiently and effectively. So.
And with a noticeable lack of drama. That really helps too.
You're right, Mayor.
Yeah, if you're just constantly just putting out fires.
Too busy.
Unless you're
too
the
busy
fire
for
department.
drama. Yeah.
Right. All right, if that's nothing else, then we'll go down to item J, executive session. We're not going there. Item K is we're convened. And item L, if there's no table business or open business, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Take a second this time.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anything else? Going once, going twice. The time is 6:41. This meeting is adjourned.